we go. Amy Taylor Alpers. I am so
Oh,
excited to have you here today on the Contrology Circle.
yay.
Yes, to
Fun. Thanks
answer
for
a
having me.
few. Pardon me?
Said thanks for having me.
Of course, absolutely. It's truly an honor, and I'm just so excited to be speaking with you. We have a long-standing friendship, and you're a wonderful colleague that I can ask any question to whenever in doubt at any time. And you're always somebody that has a proper answer that I can only learn from and benefit from. So, first question, would you please explain to us your coming to Pilates, your background, what brought
Yep.
you to the
hmm
method?
Yep. Just again, as a dancer in New York City, you heard about it. And my other career, my other sideline, I have a master's in dance history, and I worked at the dance collection at Lincoln Center for many, many years. And one of the things I did was catalog dance magazines. And so between contacts in the dance world and then reading articles in the dance magazines about Pilates, there was just this constant interest. First I ever heard about it, but it wasn't even called Pilates, was in 1975, a friend of several friends of mine who were dancing at Dance Theater of Harlem came back to where we were all staying, and they were like, "Okay, there's this crazy lady there, and she makes us do these crazy exercises." And later on, I was, oh, that was Kathy Grant, like I didn't know,
Interesting. Yes.
but I realized, many years later, oh, that's probably the first I heard about Pilates. And then I just kept, hearing about it over the years. And I lived in New York from 76 to 89. And
Right.
at the end of 86, my sister decided she wanted to come to Boulder or to New York.
Rachel.
Yep,
Yes.
Rachel. And she was living here in Boulder, and she just wanted a break from Boulder. She'd been here since the early 70s. And she had also been reading like Corolla shares and these articles that had been in Dance Magazine. And so one of the things she wanted to do while she was in New York was start Pilates. And so we were like, okay, we're doing this. And to this day, we still don't really know, because I knew of Kathy Grant and I knew of um, like Jean-Claude
And yes, he
West.
was, yes, he was
Yes.
down in Soho at the
Yeah,
time.
which is where
Correct.
I was at the time too. And I'd heard of I think several others, a couple others anyway, through the dance world. And somehow, and we are forever grateful, we just started with Romana. I,
So
it
fortunate.
was complete serendipity because we didn't know. But I think what must have happened was we looked Pilates up in the phone book, and it was the only thing listed under Pilates, like the Pilates studio. I don't know. So that's where we started. And year after year after year, we've become even more grateful that that's where we started, because you start close to the source and you don't have to search all the time. You don't feel like you
Right.
missed something. What is happening here, And you're not
For sure. Yes.
constantly, oh, I need another, I need another, I need another.
A recertification or another certification. Correct.
Yep.
Correct.
Yep. You can just dive deeper and deeper and deeper. And so, yay, thank gosh, that's what happened. We just started at Romana Studio. And then we were there for about 3 years. And then there was that day when the studio disappeared.
Yes.
And
Doors closed.
yes, and that kind of lit a fire under us, like, oh my gosh, because we were planning on moving back to Boulder at the end of the summer, and we were like, we better find out what there is, because we were both ballet teachers and had been teaching dance for many years, decades, I would.
Sure.
And so we knew how to teach movement, but we didn't
Hmm.
feel like we knew this movement that well, but we weren't even in it to teach it. We were really had gone
Understood.
to it to heal our own bodies. And
Isn't that interesting?
yeah, and then at the last minute, it was kind of like, oh my gosh, we better get everything we can. And so that's when we asked, we tie home if there was something we could take, a program, and how did we get equipment? And that sort of launched a new direction for us.
Sure. And I'm
We,
sure for him too,
yeah, it was the very,
right?
very beginnings of attempts to establish things. Very
Yes.
early still.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. So
that
nobody
would
really
have been
knew what
the
they were doing.
summer of 1989.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's interesting. And then you were like, okay, we're going back to Boulder.
Yep. And so we went back to
And
Boulder and we kept doing Pilates. We had gotten some, boy, sometimes I get the timeline confused, but I think we had
that's okay.
gotten some reformers. So Weetai owed me a reformer and he was never really able to get it to me. But he found a guy coincidentally in Boulder who was building reformers. They
Which
were
you told me his name. You told me his
Barry
name.
Barry
Yes.
Butler.
Yes.
And they were sort of loosely balanced body current
Sure.
concepts at the time based, but we really didn't know enough. We had never seen another reformer,
Yes.
just the Gratz ones that were in the studio then. And so we had a reformer, and for 6-8 months we just worked out on our own and kept it going and got our roots back here in Boulder. And we hadn't thought we're going to open a studio for sure. But then
Sure.
following June, I went back to New York to see some friends, but also to take some more lessons with Romana. And one day this guy walked in with a spine corrector. And I said, Romana, does he build equipment? And she said, oh, yeah, you haven't met Steve Giordano. And so she introduced
TBG.
to Stevie G. And I told him, well, if it was possible to actually get equipment, then, we might consider opening a studio in Boulder. And he was like, I'll come out, I'll build your equipment, I'll help you get going. And so that's what happened, So we
It's
found
crazy.
a sweet little space in Boulder, and Steve kept teaching us, and he built all our original equipment. And then shortly after we opened, which was November 5th, 1990, Steve was like, we should start a teacher training program. And
Sounds about right.
well, it was like, an old-fashioned
Just
musical movie, like
yeah.
put on a show.
Yeah.
We
Yes.
didn't know what any of it meant because there was
It's
no.
probably good.
Yeah, no, it's true, right? Because if we had known, we might have been like, oh, I don't think.
Wait a second.
Oh,
Right.
right, But we had Steve, and he had so much background with Romana, and he had been teaching
Yes.
with her and for her, and that worked for a while. And he was apparently also kind of working with Romana and Sean in New York to
Yes.
create some kind of program, right?
Right.
So we sat down and we put it down on paper, and we spread it out over X number of weekends and included, various tests and various moments where you would get observed, and, pedagogy topics such as anatomy and even just teaching. And,
Yeah.
and we launched in August of 1991.
Wow.
And it just all just like happened like that. We
Came
were
together. Yeah.
it was the right time. We had the ability to make it happen at that time.
Mhm.
Neither of us had kids yet. And then, and then it all continued on in the sense that we opened in November of 90 and my son was born. We opened November 5th, 1990.
Okay.
And my son
Yeah.
was born August 5th, 1991. So from
Wow.
that point on, it was kids and business, both
Kids and student, that as it should be. I want to point
studio
out.
and program.
That's great. Right.
Yeah, it's been a
Wow.
whirlwind for 35 years.
And you're like, and I haven't stopped since.
I haven't stopped since. I never
You have not. I can attest to that.
No,
You have not. Or slowing down, I want to point out. You have
not
not.
really. It's changed
Yes.
a little bit, but still, there's still the studio every day and the training program every day. And of course, the training program hasn't changed in terms of its structure or
That
material.
was one of my questions. Yeah.
It's changed dramatically in the way it's delivered because, you know, with putting our lectures online so that we could have like our textbook of the
Yes.
material available all around the world, then it started to spread
I'd say
everywhere.
yours, I would say yours is more like an encyclopedia collection as
Yeah,
opposed to a textbook.
a textbook. Yeah. I mean, we
No,
tried to,
yours is an encyclopedia.
yeah. Well,
For
I like
sure.
that. I like that. Yeah, you know, but it's remains what we learned from Romana in that period of time, from like 1987 to maybe 1993.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until a little bit later in her career that she started pulling out other material like the guillotine and the baby chair. She didn't teach that when we were there. So we
No.
never learned that. And we always felt like once that became kind of popular, like, well, if somebody wants to get that information, you know, then we should send them to somebody who does know it because we've learned it, but I definitely don't feel an ownership to those two pieces.
Right, sure, sure. And that's, I think we all have familiar pieces of equipment in studio, and
Yeah.
ones you're just like, I
Yeah.
mean, it's all important,
Yes.
but certainly at that time, I don't think there was the interest
No,
in that.
nobody cared. Nobody
No,
knew any different. So it wasn't
no,
like people were like pulling out information and asking, where is this stuff? Most of that didn't happen until early
years later.
2000s.
Yes, that's exactly when it starts. So we had that resurgence of what the material was, and we were all like, okay. And
Yeah.
then we were interested in it, and then it went the other way, like then nobody cared again. And then
Yeah.
now it's
Yeah.
taking
It's
it's ebbs and flows
yeah.
of the Pilates world,
Yeah.
and it's
Absolutely.
how large was your first program? Do you remember how many students?
I bet originally we had, and it was an interesting, really wonderful group. Um, Probably about 15, maybe.
That's great.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And like Jonathan Oldham was
Sure.
in
Yeah.
Jonathan, and he went on then to do the Fletcher work also and
Yeah.
become a physical therapist. So he's amazing. And oh my gosh, it was a very cool group of people. And Deb Robinson Colway, who's still
Sure. Yes.
today.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, and we have
And
a lot of wonderful pictures of it. And we did the first workshop like in August 91. Steve ran it. There's pictures of me with my like 3-week-old infant. And
oh,
I know. And then Romana came in December
right.
and
Okay.
taught that round. And then she came several other times after that over the next 3 years.
That's now, what is one thing out of Romana's training or teaching that you still hold today that you feel is important or that does affect your work and how you view
Yeah.
Contrology or Pilates?
I think, you know, we osmosed out of her this foundational belief that it's really good energy and it can be done. You know, it wasn't about, oh, it's so hard and so meticulous and you have to be so careful. It was more like, look, honey, you can do this.
Yes.
Let's
Get
do this.
on and do
Yeah.
it.
So
Yes.
let me help you do this. You know, whether I have to do it with my voice or whether I do it with my hands or whatever, you know, how to encourage people past their fear, past their trauma, past their injuries, not carefree, you know, but with this
No.
belief that actually this is healable. You can heal. You don't have to feel like you're a victim of your body the rest of your life. You know,
It's
let's
true.
conquer it. It's changeable. It's all changeable. And I think there was some kind of just foundational strength of purpose that we got
For
from
sure.
Anna that stuck.
It's
It,
important for the work for sure.
yeah, and I think so many people didn't get that from whoever taught them. They got this very careful, very, oh my
Safety
gosh,
first, which we
yes,
were always right.
so dangerous to move your body. And it's not like you can't still work with very delicate people, but you still have in your head this idea that they can grow out of that. They can
They
heal.
can do so much more. Yeah, they can do so much more. And the system is so vast that it is adaptable for everybody,
Yep.
I feel,
Yep.
right?
All levels, all types, all ages.
And
You have a foundational. For me, it was really important to have a very strong philosophical belief system
yes,
about Pilates and about the human body and about human movement, so that I could always feel very confident that there are just some truths that you can rely on. The body heals, the body can heal, the body is changeable, the
capable.
body loves to move, it's designed to
Yes,
move, and
yes.
movement should heal it.
And it can move past
Yep,
these stuck, we'll say stuck for lack of a better term,
yep.
positions or thought patterns that we
They are
all
belief
have.
systems
100,
and things they've been told by medical people too, oh well,
yeah,
you're gonna just have to stop doing that now because you're getting old or whatever. And it's like, no, let's
no,
see what we can do. Let's see what the possibility is. It's
that's it.
a lack of possibility.
And that's it. Look what you can do and not what you can't do,
Exactly,
right? And
exactly.
how do you work with, say, somebody that's an absolute beginner, as
Mhm,
opposed to, say, somebody that is a seasoned pro, a professional, a
mhm.
teacher, or how do you adapt that? Or
I
how do you
think,
change that?
I in my mind, they're still going to be doing regular Pilates at some point,
Yes.
right? So if I can get them on the reformer and start doing footwork at some level, I do. If I have to do some preparatory work, it's always in the philosophical approach, the same
Yes.
philosophical approach that we're trying to uniformly develop you. So we're looking at all your odd imbalances and difficulties and all the things that may have caused pain or injury or fear,
And that's a huge one. And the
huge,
body does not
huge.
lie,
Mm-mm.
right? Like what people tell us, but then when you sit and you watch somebody or you listen to them breathe, there's not really any faking that. Like you're very much in in that space with that person. And again, it's an honor to share that space with somebody. And there's a certain amount of responsibility that does come with that,
Sure, for sure. I mean, I have
right?
this one client I have, she's been coming for 31 years.
Wow.
And when she came to us, she was probably 50, I think she's about to turn 80, so she just 50 at the time. And she came in tears, in pain, in total frustration, just a broken person who'd been told like she was never going to be able to do this or that or this or that or this or that again. And then one chiropractor she went to locally was like, no, 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 no. Go to the Pilates Center. Just try Pilates. And she
That's awesome.
came. Yeah, thank God, right? And she came and she was in pain. It was just degenerative disc, but she was having a lot of nerve pain. It just had crushed her.
Sure.
These stories that she'd been told, like, well, that's it, honey, you're 50 now. You're gonna have to give up.
That's ridiculous.
I know. It's like, oh,
Ridiculous. That
oh,
makes me crazy.
I know. I know. So luckily, I mean, we persevered. She was very challenging because she was in a lot of pain and so frustrated, but we just kept working on it one tiny step at a time, learning to get in touch with the area that hurt, learning to do movement that could be safe, that she feared. And slowly, as soon as I could get her past being able to just pick up a leg and put it down and not have pain, breathing and just
Breathing is
starting
huge. Yes.
activate her abs and start feeling like muscles are firing again, then we slowly started. And at one point, she still does tree with arch.
Fantastic. That's
I
awesome.
know. I know. It's
That's
amazing, and then she got married and she sent her husband, and here we are 31 years later, and she comes in twice a week, and
But
we
that says so much. That says so much about you and how she feels being with you. I mean, that's a testament to the work and to
she
you.
would definitely say that for sure too, that
Yeah.
I have I don't even call it patience or endurance. It's just I will just whatever you need today. I don't have
You are,
expectation that you're supposed to be
no,
amazing.
you
We've been doing this for 30 years. I have this expectation. You're going to walk in, you're going to tell me how you feel today. She's been to hell and back in the last 6 years with several different cancers and surgeries and whatnot.
don't.
Like, you tell me, and we'll do more than you think you can do,
That's
but
awesome.
I'm not expecting anything, and I think so many, I guess, teachers, maybe they get caught in the idea that their clients should all progress.
And do this.
Yeah. And not all of them
Not
will. She's
applicable.
not a dancer. She's not a mover. She's just a woman who worked in the finance world and stressed herself out and needs to stay
Gets
healthy
through yeah, and that's it, right? And to meet each day where she's at,
is where she's at.
right? And
I
that is
remember a
something that,
client, as I said, I remember an old client of ours coming in and saying like, "Oh, I'm so sorry today. I don't think I can do like a level 3 reformer." And I was like, "I don't really understand why you would think we would care."
right? Or
Like,
expect that of you, right?
not, that's not what it's about. Let's just feel
No,
good today. That was maybe
it's
another thing that Romana would say too. It's like, honey, do you feel good? Do you feel better? And we want you to feel better.
that's it. From
Yeah.
when you walked in, did this help you? And are you now able to go out in the world and
Yeah.
bring this
In
to
a much
your
more
daily
positive
practice
way.
of living, right?
Yep.
And that is like one of your philosophies. Please, your mission statement, your philosophy on Pilates. It's something
Yeah.
that you've openly shared, and I think it's really wonderful. Would
I
you share that?
mean, foundationally, the mission is world peace,
Yeah.
right? But it's
Amen.
about empowering your clients to heal and return to life, such
That's
that when
it.
they do walk out the front door, they are a more powerful, happy, healthy, pain-free, energized person. And they go about each day after that being a more powerful, positive force in the world.
That's it.
I mean, to me, it's so simple. And so they come in the way they come in, and the task is to organize the energy in the body and get it flushed and moving and detoxed and put back together and bendable and, completely hydrated and rinsed like an internal shower, right?
Rinsed.
Yeah.
Yes, for
So
sure. Well, that leads me. Sorry, continue.
yeah, just so they are clean. They walk out the door and they just feel like completely rejuvenated, got all the toxic crap out, re-energized, fed every cell.
It's
And that
important.
spot especially is cleaned out a little bit.
Yeah, that's huge, I think. And that leads me to Joseph Pilates called his original method Contrology. How do you personally define and interpret Contrology for yourself?
I mean, I had to, once came a point when we really didn't have access to Romana anymore, once the
Right,
lock.
sure. Yes.
So I was like, okay, I have what she taught me. And now I need to do a little deep dive and figure out why I teach this. And since at that time, this would have been the early 90s, right? There wasn't a lot of information about Pilates,
No.
but I spent a lot of time with Return to Life. I'm really trying to hear into what he was saying. What is an internal shower? And why does it matter that your spine be flexible and strong? And what does he mean by body, mind, spirit? And,
Yes.
astrology, like being in charge of your body so that you have the power. And I thought, and there was so much conflict. And I would say some of when I really came to what I meant, what I thought it meant, happened like after the PMA started and there started to be these bigger conferences.
Sure.
Maybe you had to stand up and present at a where you're not preaching to the choir at all.
No, different
Very
different
few
game.
people in your choir there,
Yes, yes, yes.
you know, and I had
You're
to,
lucky.
it could
Yes,
be quite scary, quite
quite
confrontational,
daunting.
aggressive, everything, right?
Yeah,
And
for sure, for sure.
I had to be able to say way more than, well, Romana said.
Yes,
You know, I had to have a deeper understanding and a deeper commitment to something. And the way my brain works was I thought, all right, how does the universe work? That's where I go. Okay, so the universe
I
is
love it.
expanding and everything is moving all the time, like energy. It's all energy. That's all there is.
Yes,
And it transforms into matter that looks like this, and then it goes back to stardust, and then it transforms, and then it goes back to stardust. And the movement that it's always doing is expansion and contraction.
yes,
And so then
yes.
I started like looking at humans moving in the Pilates work and applying this belief that every cell has to be doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing. Every joint has to be doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing, what it was designed to do,
That's right.
following its natural patterns, watch nature. You know, and I learned and learned and learned. I watched. And then it was so great because then there was YouTube and you could like Google lion
Anything.
relating.
Yes, yes. So great. Yes, yes.
Yeah, or starlings murmurating or whatever, you know, and I started realizing like what does human movement look like when it's natural, when it's primal. And I kind of have this foundational belief that natural, normal human movement predates all information.
Yes,
It was
yes.
right before, and that's why Pilates doesn't have to conform to new information because it actually predates information. It's about actually returning the body back to moving the way it would have primally if 20th and
Right.
21st century life hadn't interfered.
Right.
You know, and so then you watch animals, you watch creatures, babies, you watch humans who move better, you know, like, oh, that's what it could look like, should look like.
That's
And
organic movement, right?
yeah,
It's much more organic than the cookie
and
cutter.
bring a body back to that organically truthful human movement, the way it's designed to move, is actually the path to health.
Yes.
And so you just, I don't know, you know, it just became so clear to me that I could talk about it and teach about it at a conference without worrying that somebody was going to give me some piece of information that would throw me off. And I would just be like, you know, this is pre-learning anything like that. Don't not learn, but don't let your knowledge. I found this quote by T.S. Eliot that then became really a guiding light for me, which is kind of where is the information that we get from data?
Right.
Where is the knowledge we lose actually from
Oof.
information? And then most important, like where is the wisdom that gets lost in knowledge? And
Yeah,
so like
for
knowledge is
sure.
a temporary thing, it changes all the time, but wisdom is how it works.
Yes.
Regardless of
Yes.
who said what about anything, how many books were done, how many studies were done, wisdom is how it works. It's how the earth works, how the universe works, how the human moves. And so you have to be careful with data and information and knowledge because it could totally get in the way of
Sure.
helping somebody actually move like a normal, natural human
And heal.
and
Like
heal, which
that's
is to me the
that's what
path
we're
to health.
here. Right.
Yeah, yeah,
Right. And that's something that I think, to your point earlier, that so many of the exercises were taken out because people were getting hurt, people
yeah.
didn't feel safe. Yeah, but they probably didn't mount it the right way. They probably weren't paying attention. There's other elements that were there, but it shouldn't have been taken out of the work, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I feel we all of us part that were of that time period,
Mhm.
didn't question it when we were like, oh, that's no longer in the system. We're like, okay, bye.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
But don't teach it to
What we
clients. You're like,
started doing.
okay,
Yeah, like we would hear 5 years later, like last
oh, we're
time
not doing that. Yeah.
Mona came in 93, and then we'd hear people who were doing workshops later or taking her trainings and be like, well, we don't do that anymore. And we don't do that
Right.
anymore. And when we do that, we have to do it exactly like this. And it became kind of clear to me. I never got to ask her, but could almost see her going like, oh my God, suddenly I have to land in Seattle and certify all these people I've never met before. And they're
That's
doing,
huge. That's a huge responsibility.
oh my gosh, I can understand it. And that she got
Sure.
tighter and more cookie cutter about it, and then
Rigid.
rigid. And then it just became a bunch of rules.
Yeah.
You had to follow
With
the rules more importantly than you had to feel better.
right. And then you restrict the movement. So anytime you restrict anything, you are interfering with the flow. You are interfering with the energy of it.
Yep.
I feel.
Which
And
was
then
so a part of it when we worked with her. She wasn't,
yeah,
she wasn't, she, I don't know, she was still free. Like when we worked with, she was still a
sure.
teacher in her studio, working
Yeah.
with clients, not just dancers, not just trainees, but people,
Yes.
and enjoying the hell out of working with people and helping them get healthy with Pilates. And I think as her world narrowed and she
Ugh,
ended up working primarily with dancers who are not really the best
right.
fit for Pilates, but whatever. And getting them to perform beautifully, because at least that
And
would be
that's
satisfying on some level. You just saw it like kind of, I don't know, disappear.
pray. Just starts falling, and then you're
Yeah.
just like, oh, I
And
yes, I understand. What do you think? What do you think that Joe would think about his method today in how it's being taught and how it's being shared? More importantly, of how it's being taught, and shall
I
we say
know.
adapt or
I
interpret
think,
it?
I think, I don't think many of us, if any of us, can really get inside his brain,
No.
know what it was he was looking for when he was looking at people and telling them what to do. Years and years and years of studying it, years and years of doing it and teaching it, you feel like maybe you get a little closer to it. We've really gone back and dived very deeply into the archival work,
Yes, you have. Yeah, for sure.
forth a lot of the much more male energy of it, the upper body
Hmm.
power, sheer dynamic muscle mass power
Yes.
that's required for a lot of the work to be useful. I
Yes.
think he would have been like, wow, amazing. Pilates is everywhere and everybody knows about it. But actually, I don't really think anybody's doing what I said.
Right.
I think they're actually getting strong. They're getting good at performing movements, if even that. But the tensegrity, the idea that it's a single whole and you cut it apart and it's a bunch of parts, is how Pilates has become, like a bunch of
Yes.
parts, and you articulate this while you stabilize that. And it's like, yeah, that's so not at all what he meant. And people could say, oh no, we're doing the whole body because we're thinking about the foot while we're doing this. And it's like, I know, but I don't think that's exactly what he meant. I think he meant just like put it together and pick it up, put it together and punch, like nothing
Right, it was
extraordinary.
that basic.
Yeah, and it was
Yes.
not
Yes.
fancy at all.
No.
How would
No.
the work look today? How would it look today if boxers were the ones who had carried it on?
Very different.
Yeah,
Right?
and so trying to imagine just the strength building
Oh,
of of somebody who was going to be more of a boxer or, you know, an acrobat or something like that with much, much more power in their bodies and way
Yes.
less flexibility and technique.
We have all seen the videos of
Yes.
Joe teaching.
Yes. Yes.
Wow, you could not get away with that today.
No, no, for sure.
For sure not.
Although I did take a workshop with Eve Gentry once, and she said to me, you know, when he got on film, on
Uh-huh. I
camera,
say the same thing.
yeah, he didn't teach like that in the studio.
No, no,
But
I was also
on
told that.
camera, yeah, I mean, when you think
Yeah,
back to even in the 90s, where if we needed to take a picture of something, that was it. We took a picture, you had to wait till it was developed. You couldn't fix it, right?
no,
So these are films, one shot films where he tried to get across absolutely everything he could think of trying to get across in
that's it.
one clip. I don't know. You always have to have perspective on everything. You have to think
For
about
sure.
times. You have to think about the moment in time. You have to think about his intentions. And, you know, I loved hearing that from her. She was like, he did not teach like that. He was just
Yes.
on camera and he got, you know, into it a little bit too much. But there's
And
plenty
he
of,
was selling,
yeah, he was
right? He was
totally full.
marketing.
Yeah. Yep.
And
Very much marketing. Yep.
for
And
sure.
thought that, you know, at the time I mean, I know we're all thinking of that one guy he's banging his head on, you
Of
know,
course.
he's not going to bend no matter what. But
But
also,
apparently that guy kept coming back. So
yeah, um, you know, I think even though he's going like this, I think a lot of it is like him gesturing versus him actually cranking on.
forcing. And you can see that in the arm. You
Yeah,
can see, yes, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, for sure. Yeah,
yeah. So
agreed.
he's gesturing and demonstrating and trying to get a point across, but I don't think he was actually cranking on that guy's neck.
Yeah. I don't either. I had looked at it a couple of times and we're all like, whoa. But then you
Oh,
start looking at it and you're like, wait a second. No. It's not like he was laying on him. You know what
right,
I mean? It's like
right.
you could be like, oh, that's right.
Yep.
So yeah, it's good to have perspective for
Yes.
sure.
Perspective.
Yes,
So, so
for
key.
sure.
Well, because people ask me questions all the time about, well, why didn't you do this and why didn't you do that? And I was like, it wasn't a thing.
No,
You're
no,
imagining that, you know, stuff that is true today was actually true 30 years ago. It wasn't true. It wasn't even
no,
available, you know.
no.
So we didn't, like, even when we built our equipment line with Ken Endelman, it wasn't, we would have gone with Gratz, but at that time, Gratz had just split and the conversation wasn't really up yet.
No, there
And they were
wasn't
so
any, no,
small, they could never have handled the industry yet,
no, for
especially
sure
having
not.
just split in half, you know? And so, you know, people just don't know the history well enough to understand what was going on at that moment in time.
Sure. I mean, you're one of the few that got to experience this beauty behind me when I had it at mom and
Yes,
dad, right? And I was so excited because I was like, you're not gonna believe this. And you're the only other person that I could express how truly exciting this. I was like, it's like the old ones. And when you got on it, what did you say?
I'm like, oh, this feels like home, I bet.
Which is the best comment
Yeah, like
ever.
that's the thing. Like I when I got on that reformer that Ken had at his place, also
Yes,
that old reformer with the convertible lid,
yes.
same thing. I sat down, I was like, oh my God, this feels just right.
It just works.
Couldn't have said it exactly what it was about it, but I knew
Mm-mm.
that's right. And that was the one we like measured to the nth degree
Right, right.
create our center line from because the specs were so confusing in the world at that time.
I don't think there really were any. I mean, there was something that you were just kind of like, and again, that was the time. People were just doing what they could, and the
Yep. Yep.
understanding of why the shoulder blocks or the shoulder cushions are the way they are, why the
Yeah.
foot bar, like it was kind of interesting when everybody started being like, the pads removed from the reformer. And I'm like, yeah, yeah, I know. But, and so there was that resurgence of like, well, why is the pad removed? And
Yeah,
everybody was like, but that's how it was done.
was,
And
yeah.
padded
But
later.
and I don't know, like for instance, the reformers that were in the studio in the late 80s,
Yeah,
which had been compiled from clients as well as,
for
whatever
sure.
the
Yes.
company actually owned. And each one was a little different. They were in
Mm.
horrifying shape, held together
Yes.
with duct tape.
Tape.
Straps were all kinds of different lengths, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
And so it wasn't really like you wanted to recreate exactly that.
Yeah.
And because also the market expects nice.
Oof. Yes.
So
Yes.
you can't have duct tape and weird straps and
No.
it has to look nice, it has to be kept nice, it has to look professional and clean and people won't tolerate
Those were not anymore.
any.
No. Like even this one, I could never. If you remember, I was like, "Oh, watch the edges because they're really sharp." If you walk past this and hit it the wrong way, you've got like a gash, and
Ow,
then
yes.
you'll definitely be bleeding. Like it's
Yeah,
not like buffered down at all. You know what I mean? It's
yeah,
insane. It's
yeah.
insane, but it's great.
Yeah,
You know?
we understand. We know how to appreciate the instrument and how to make it play our bodies really well. But no, the market is
That's
no, we're just not going to.
no. Too many liability issues
Yeah,
now.
my
Way
clients
too
are
many.
like, this strap is like an 18th of an inch longer. I can feel it in my body. And I'm like, oh, okay, maybe you need to not be so and just move. But on the other hand, we will fix it.
That's right. Back in the day, you never would have said that ever.
No,
You would have just been
nobody
like,
would have known. And yes, I think a lot of times when I teach like the archival reformer, I think some of the changes that occurred over time from the archival work, like one example is chest expansion. In the archival work, you hold the handle and
yes,
the leather,
yes,
right?
right,
I
yes,
think it's the straps got so long, you had to choke up.
yeah,
you
that's
know
exactly.
so when the strap was shorter, yeah, you held the handle and then you could actually lean back on it a little bit. It was very cool,
Yes,
different, but completely different in the way it feels in your body.
makes it different. Totally
Yeah,
makes it different. Yeah.
yeah,
And that's the one thing that's reviewing the archives and the Corolla pictures, even I'm like, wait, what? And then I'll
yeah.
stop and I'm like, that doesn't make any sense to your eye. And then you try it and you're like, oh my
Oh,
goodness.
that's so right.
Okay.
So right, like because we looked at those archival films, we probably had them for a good 10 years.
Yeah, you had them for a long
Look
time,
at
for
them
sure.
and we'd be like, yeah, that's pretty close, but oh, I don't think I
Okay.
can go too deep just yet, and then finally we were like,
Right.
let's really look for the differences. And even after a while, you're still like, oh my God, I didn't notice that they're also doing this. And these little subtle things
That's
change
it.
everything.
That's 100% it. And I think that we took it for granted for sure. And we also didn't have the knowledge
Right.
when we were able to all have access to the archives. It's so beautiful. You have an appreciation after the fact because there you were like, man, all right, and just flipping through them, you're
Exactly
like,
right.
this is cool, this is cool. And Sean and I would get into conversations about things that were like, it was really great and really you delve deeper into it there. But then you'd be like, yeah, right, back to the work. You know what I mean? So there wasn't that, oh, let's go and really dive deep into it until later.
Yeah.
And I think that's such an important it was where was it in you did the archival workshop Cadillac. Where was that? In Tulsa. Was it Tulsa?
Mm-mm. I haven't been to Tulsa.
No, you're like, nope, that wasn't it. What
Haven't
was the
been.
Florida one then? Wait, it was the one down here. Yes. Tampa. Tampa?
Maybe. Yeah.
Bernie's. Yeah. But the archival workshop that was there. Fantastic.
Yes, yes, that I did do the archival there. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And Jan Ruggiero was there and yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I sent her the video the other day. I had reached out to her and I was like, I was looking up Amy and I was like, and this came up and it's you on the Cadillac.
Oh, that's
So
cool.
it's so cool.
I love it.
It was
Love it.
such
Yeah.
a great workshop. And so much of that work is beneficial
Yeah.
and
It's a
still to this
dynamic
day.
strength building quality that isn't in some of the stuff that came down later through Romana.
Right.
Could be, but it didn't translate over very well somehow. So you go back to some of these original versions and you're like, oh, that's what it's supposed to feel like.
Right. You're just like, wait, what? Yeah.
Where you want it, and
Yes.
also just like a lot of the rules, they weren't rules at the time.
No.
See how the hand
There
goes,
was,
how the foot goes, or where on the
yeah,
pole,
just get on.
that kind of stuff. Yeah, they had a lot of variations on the theme.
Yes.
That was nice. It gave you the freedom to be like, well, here's how Romana would say it, and then this is how she's actually doing it in the film, and then this is how other people do it in the film, and you realize, like, yeah, there were some options, and those options are actually very cool if you know how to keep shoulders safe and keep things safe and not
That's it.
hyper stretch something or whatever.
Yes, yes. Now, do you have a favorite archival exercise or sequence of the archives that you think is first misunderstood,
We've been
has
teaching
tremendous value?
Yeah, we've been teaching this one exercise. I've been teaching it a lot lately. We don't like we gave names to these exercises because we don't know what
Yes, they would. No,
call.
yeah, absolutely.
We dubbed this one the archival monkey.
Okay.
And so you're on the Cadillac with the roll down bar behind you.
Okay.
So you're facing away. You
Yeah.
take the roll down bar over your head and you put it on your feet.
Yes.
And then you reach out and you come back. And it is a little dangerous. You have to tell people it's quite dangerous because you pick your feet up, you're flying backwards.
Yeah. And the bar.
Right?
Right.
Yes, exactly.
For sure.
So, I always make sure I always do not fall back. Don't fall back. There's no falling back in Pilates, no falling. You must keep
Good,
your
good,
feet on the
good.
floor, but once you get it, and you're not just stretching, but you're actually reaching, then first of all, monkey makes more sense, regular
For
monkey,
sure. For
right?
sure.
The rowings make a lot more sense, but
Yes.
everything does. Your tendon stretch makes more sense, your overhead, everything. It
It's
like
so true.
makes you realize there was this thing. And I've been kind of using the image of like, Joe and the old pictures on the chair. He's got those little black trunks on, and then the chest comes forward, but not the trunks. The chest
No.
comes, you know? And
Right.
so this power in the pelvis, in the center, and then this chest that pushes out from there so that you're not in your hip flexors, you're not in your low back, you're up and over, but you're not leaning. And it's this very eye-opening strength building exercise that kind of changes everything.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
So
huge.
right now I'd say that's a fun one.
That's a great one. Are you
Yeah.
kidding?
Yeah.
Do you think he was
a lot to help people feel something and then go back and do it here now?
for sure, for sure. And how it's so interconnected.
Yep.
Like I think
100%.
delving back into it for me, that's the one thing I'm picking up. I'm like, oh my gosh. Because when you're in it, you do the system, right? We do
Yeah.
it, we do it, we do it. You do it through repetition. That's how you're learning. And then years later, you continue to do it. And it's not something somebody tells you because somebody can tell you something, but until you experience it in your own body, you have these wonderful moments that you're just like, oh my gosh, it's all connected, right? And you're just like,
And oftentimes I will
it's so
suddenly go,
wonderful.
oh my God, that's what he meant. Or, oh my God, that's what Romana was saying when she said something. I
Right.
get those, like
Yes.
I think I finally understand that now. And it changes everything. It makes you do your footwork differently, makes you do roll up differently, it makes you do short spine differently because you
For sure.
got another new understanding that you felt. And like you said, You can tell people this, but trying to give them the experience so they own it is the key,
It's
and so
huge.
that's what I'm always trying to do is like, okay, what do I have to say? How do I have to say this? How many different ways can I describe what I'm talking about until I see the person go, oh, I got it. And
Yeah.
I can
Yes.
their brain do it and their body do it. And I'm like, there it is right there. See, think about
And that's a wonderful moment.
how is that not stomach massage? How is that not, everything?
That's huge. That
How is
is
so
huge.
cool. And it's endless. It's
It
absolutely,
is. It is. It is endless.
I have not yet come to the point where I think, okay, I got it.
Or you're bored. Like
Yeah.
I
Oh,
no,
never bored for sure.
right? No.
That's what people say about like, oh, you do the same thing over and over again. I'm like, no, you never do the same thing over and over again. It's always
No.
because you're smarter and you're stronger and you've organized better. But they are all like natural, normal human movements that we
Connected.
should be connected in and stronger
Yeah,
in and capable to transition through all sorts of movement with that deep foundational connected strength.
for sure. And now with that, can you speak to Joe's mind, body, spirit? I
Mm,
think there has been a disconnect that I have seen definitely within the online world and social media, mind,
mm.
body. And I was like, no, no, no. You
Yeah.
cannot have
No,
mind,
there's no
body
way.
within spirit. There's no way. Thank you.
No. I've always thought, he says the mind controls the body. And that's one of the cool things about Pilates is you are actually using your mind the whole time. You're not
Yes.
there
It's not
mastered all
haphazard
technique.
movement.
No,
No.
you can't not be doing it. And so your mind is controlling your body. Therefore, they're integrating beautifully, all the way down to your big toe, where all your
For
parts are.
sure.
And you are in control of that through your mind, through your body, and back again. And the spirit part, to me, I don't think he meant it like in a religious way at all. I think
Mm,
it's the energy of it. When you get that, there's this energetic, like life force that is
right.
released because you're organized and you're not protecting yourself and you're not in pain and you're not out of control of your parts, like not knowing why
Right.
every time you take a step, your knee hurts. You are in charge. And that mind body oneness creates that
Yes.
elevated, open spirit, energy, positive feeling, power. I don't know. They just obviously
Within each movement.
all the same. Yeah.
Yes.
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 And in
And
you. So when you leave, you're all of those things.
absolutely. Yes. And it's how you step back out into the world.
Yep.
I think
100%.
that's
If we
such a
go
huge
mind,
part
body,
of it.
spirit out into the world, then, the world will be a better place.
Oof. Wouldn't it though? If everybody just did it.
Yes. Yes.
It's
Yes.
so true. It's so true. Now, speaking to your own practice, do you continue with your method? How
Very much.
does, yeah, what does your routine look like? What does your practice look like at this point?
Yeah. At this point, I take class. I have never been a workout on my own person. I
Right.
did for, many years early on, but then, work interferes. And eventually I was like, okay, no, I have to create slots in my week for my classes that I'm going to take. And at
Yes.
that moment in time, I'm not the owner of the studio. I'm not your teacher. I am a client in the class. And they are written in stone. Otherwise, they will always disappear. So
Mhm.
I take 3 classes a week without
That's
fail,
fantastic.
unless I am traveling or sick or whatever, but I hardly ever.
Sure.
Uh,
No.
I know, but I know that about myself. I don't have a really easy body. I was a dancer, but it was always a struggle, and I was in a lot of pain.
Right.
This is the
Sure.
only thing in my entire life that I've ever done for almost 40 years.
Isn't it? It's
I know.
It's a testament to the work for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so this I know is mine forever. And I will constantly do it. I don't think you can remain a decent teacher if you're not doing it.
You can't.
You
You
don't,
can't.
for a while, it's just words. You don't even remember how it feels. And you're never exploring anything new in your body. You're just repeating.
That's it.
And
Right.
I realized kind of recently, like, I think one of the reasons I even started the teacher training program, I didn't know it at the time. And I don't know if it's for sure only that. It's not only that, but I have created my own teachers.
Right.
So I have
Yes.
amazing teachers to
That's huge.
study with who see me, see my body, and I'm a very good student. I'm not their teacher when I'm in their class.
No, that's true. You're not. Yeah.
I just want to hear what they have to say. They're looking at me. They know a lot and they have gifts in their own ideas, their minds, their vision. And I just learn a tremendous amount from
That's
taking class from these amazing teachers.
there's so many of them and they see things differently and they bring certain
One
things to
of
the
them.
practice that are beneficial. What advice would you have for new teachers trying to find, first of all, their own voice in the community,
Yes,
their own
yes.
voice, and what separates them from anybody else? How to
Yeah.
find their own positioning, I guess.
Yeah. I always tell students they should really try to answer two questions for themselves. You don't have to write a book about it. You don't even have to share your answer, but you have to know your answer.
Mm-hmm.
That is, what is Pilates?
Yeah.
Own definition of what it is. If it's close to what Joe said it is, that's better.
Yes.
Right? Because it's not
Yes.
anything you believe, it is a thing, but you have to be able to speak it in your own mind, in your own words, your own beliefs. And secondarily, why do you teach it?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Like for me, I'm very clear. Once I got clear, it was so clear to me that I teach it for world peace. And so I'm watching a person doing the Pilates that I defined for myself, and I can see whether the movement leads to world peace or not, because I
Yeah.
got so clear about it. I was so committed that I see it immediately now. No, 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 no. You can't do that with your knee because that is not the most amazing movement with your knee, and that's not going to lead to your health, which is what is required for world peace, And so you have to get so clear. You have to have your own personal understanding and your own personal mission. Why do you
Yes.
do this? Because you're going to do it a lot. You're going to have a lot of people lie down on the reformer and put their feet on the bar.
For sure. For sure.
Why do you do that? Do you
No, it's an important, absolutely. It's such an important question. And then how has your teacher training program evolved over the years?
Yeah, I would say, like I said before, the program remains the same. The first
Right.
thing we did after about 10 years, so like in the first 10 years of teaching the program, right, there really wasn't much. And so people had to come to Boulder and they had to learn it
Right.
in Boulder.
Yes.
Then by about 10 years in, we had a number of grads who had amazing studios with amazing people, and the world was starting to want to have stuff right where they were instead of having to travel, So first we kind of licensed the program out to maybe half a dozen, maybe there were 8, I don't remember, graduates all around the world who
Right.
then ran the program where they were. But it is a game of telephone. And
Oh,
so
yeah.
we started seeing like, and that's when Kelly, our director of education, was like, we need to film it and it needs to be you and Rachel. And that's going to be the singular voice. Whether you someday move on and do a bunch of it, this is just like we said, this is the actual program where you learn it.
That's
After
it.
that, it's your interpretation forevermore, but there has to be a foundational education of the facts,
Yes.
figures, and all the data. And so that's when we will put it online. And so that was probably about 2014, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we have what we call host advisors, which are these amazing grads who've been doing it for a long time now, all around the world, who then take students through the program using the lectures online. And,
Right.
and the whole program is online now. You can take your tests online. You can,
Everything. Yes.
yeah, like I did an OT today, and here's what we talked about, and put that in. So the whole thing is also like NPCP approved as online education. And of course, online
Huge.
education has become such a huge thing, and there's a lot of
Huge.
regulations now.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
it's great because we've always been happy with regulations. We were the first school to be state licensed.
Oh,
And
wow.
one of the things that occurred when you have to be state licensed, and licensure is much more about just running a viable business. It's not
Yes.
about the program, but you have to provide for the marketplace in a very legitimate way. And that helped us really organize our program, and
Sure.
dot every I, cross every T, and make sure all the testing is legit, and make sure that the evaluating and grading is fair. It's not my
Yes.
personal opinion only, but there's certain things, and so then we had to
It's
develop.
quantifiable. Yeah,
Yep,
for sure.
totally quantifiable, right? We had to
Yes.
develop a series of forms that we use to do observed teaching with, and to do practice teaching with, and to do testing with.
Sure.
You know, and in particular, one of the key things, which is still an issue today for other schools and other people, is the enrollment agreement and the what's it called? Like if somebody decides to withdraw,
The
getting,
commitment
yes,
or
getting
lack of.
their money back.
Yes, that's
You
huge,
know,
right?
yes,
Yeah,
like legally and viably, and yes, morally and ethically, but legally as well.
for
How
sure.
do you refund people's money? What are the rules and regulations around that? So getting all of that into our program just made our program feel clean.
Yes,
you know
yes,
and so then by the time 10 years later we went online, we had all of that already in place.
yes.
And by that time we kind of knew better also how to train the host advisors who do a lot of the observed teaching and some of the testing and that kind of stuff. So you're always just taking it up a notch, same program,
For sure.
cleaner, stronger,
Streamlined, all of it.
streamlined, everything the way it's supposed to be. No more like, well, he said and she said. No, it's like, no, it's on film now. It's that.
That's right.
That's the answer
There
right
it
there.
is. That's it. That's it. But
Yeah,
with the increase of the popularity of Pilates, do you worry that the work is getting lost
it is.
or diluted? For sure.
100%. There's no doubt about it. And I used to fight for it. There was a time when I woke up, I don't know, it's maybe 10 years ago. I wasn't
Yeah.
well. I was so stressed out. And I just said, you know what? I can't imagine I'm even trying to control this industry. I can control me and what I do. And that's
But
it.
that's
And
it.
so, I was like, I get it. I fully get it. I understand all the conversations and all the arguments online and blah, 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 blah. But it's no different than any industry. It's got its hardcore nuts, and it's got its anything goes nuts, and it's got, and
All
so
the above.
all the above and everything in
Yes.
between. And so I just thought,
Yes.
well, what I do. This is
And
what
I think yes, you and Rachel have done a fantastic job to preserve the work
thank
and
you.
to teach it in an ethical and moral way, because there is a responsibility that does come with that for all of us as teachers. And it's something to reflect upon. And what, as we start to close, I could keep talking to you for hours, as you know,
That's so fun.
because we have, yeah.
Well,
But would,
one more thing, Dale, if
sure,
and this might have been where you were
there's a
going
couple.
today.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
one of the things that when we came back to Boulder and we started teaching, and then we started our teacher training program, we did two things kind of specifically. One was we sort of changed the model that it's taught in. So we don't have that open studio kind of thing. We teach privates and classes because
Yes.
we really wanted to teach, not give people Pilates and put people through Pilates workouts, but like
No.
actually heal people through this concept of uniform development. And we felt that required some one-on-one, and I still
100%.
they totally do.
Yes.
The other thing was we were going to be nice.
You always have been, yes.
We were just going to be nice. We weren't going to do that old school
Oh,
yell and I mean, we just weren't going to.
poke,
We weren't
poke,
going to break
slap,
your
any of the
night
above.
or
Yeah,
like
no, it's
that, and we never have been, and we never were going to do it if it required
abusive.
that.
Right.
And I'd say actually the third thing really was that we
Ugh,
wanted to facilitate teachers developing their own voice and
that's
not
huge.
create cookie cutter teachers at all. Because to me, the most valuable piece is that everybody's mind and body and brain and eyes, you can't ever see it the same way somebody else saw it. So
No.
let's actually nurture. You don't have to change Pilates, but you nurture the person's teaching ability so they can
Yes.
really see a body and be able to make everything fit this body. So it's actually good for this body, and it's not generically good. It's specifically good. This person
Right.
really long hyperextended legs, and this person is short and stocky, kind of like Joe. Well, you just can't teach it the same, And we wanted
Yeah,
teachers to be able to apply it to everybody and also to be able to bring forth their own unique voice.
that's huge. And that is what should be nurtured.
Yeah.
And we don't want to all be the same because we all bring a different experience to the method. We really do. That was one of my training partners in one of my programs. They put me with her and I was like, it's not going to work because she was like half my size. And I'm a big girl, 5'11", and she was
Yeah.
like 5'2" and a dancer. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, we can't work out together. We can't. I would tell you it was one of my greatest life lessons with teaching to see what she could do. And I would ask her, and there wasn't this like, can I do this? I was like, why doesn't this work on my body? And how does it work on yours? So it just taught me so
Yeah.
much. It was such a gift. And she was this
Yep.
just gorgeous, beautiful, amazing dancer, modern dancer. And me,
Yep.
athlete, so we were such different ends of the spectrum, but at the same time, just so wonderful. And it was such a gift to
And I
me.
bet she says the same, that worked
Yeah,
out
she's
for her
she's
as a
really wonderful.
teacher. Yeah, because like, whoa, I feel it this way. I think it this way. I'm saying those things to you, but it is not giving me the same response from you that I.
Right.
So how are we going to deal with this, And eventually, I remember I taught a workshop at one conference, and a young woman came up to me after my workshop and she said, I really enjoyed your workshop, but I just have to tell you, you kind of said exactly the opposite of what somebody said in the previous workshop. And I said, I
Oh
know,
yeah. Yes.
I'm not surprised. I'm really sorry. You're going to have to choose.
Oh, right.
Like they're going to have different opinions, and you're the teacher in the end. You're the one who's there with the human, and you're the one who believes in Pilates. You're going to have to be the one who figures out what you think this thing is.
Yes. Yes. No, but
So
that's
go.
huge.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's huge.
And
Yeah.
so just so many eye-opening moments along the way, you know, where you're like, yep, sorry, I know. I'm not going to say what that person says because that's not what I believe. And I can tell you all about why I believe what I believe, but eventually you're going to have to figure out what you
You're
believe.
the one that's, yeah. And I think that's something that new teachers definitely struggle with. I think any teachers, some of us, once you get it under your belt, you're like, no, this is right.
Yeah,
And not that you want to be so closed-minded to other concepts or other ideas. That's not what I'm saying. But
yeah.
what do you bring forth to the method, and what are you looking for
Yeah.
in your
Think that
teaching
thing
ability?
works. Like what's your mission? Like what is it you want them to do? Do you want them to look really pretty? Do you want them to do it exactly correctly? Do you want them to get out of pain? Do you want them to feel strong?
That's
Like what
huge.
is it you want as their teacher of this incredible system, which can be bastardized and broken down, and or it can be maintained, but it also can be taught like a hardcore.
Rigid. Yes, there's a lot. Yes, yes. And I think that's to your point, is like, what do you want to put out in the world? What do you want to present? And what does it mean to you that you are sharing that too?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I don't,
It
if
has to
somebody comes to me
be
injured,
integrity about it. Yeah.
that's it. And that's it. And if somebody is coming in injured, the last thing I'm like, oh, let's make it look pretty because that's just how it's, no, that's
Yeah.
not your focus. Your
Romana
focus
said, this
is
is how you do
that
it.
person. That's it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, there's so much of that. But it's where can, first of all, there's a couple more things, if you don't mind. Looking back at your career, what are one of your most what is one of your proudest moments as a Pilates instructor and as a student? Ooh, got you on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, interestingly, in about 3 weeks, Pilates Anytime is premiering the documentary they made about us.
But
That to me is really like we were shocked, like dumbfounded, like you're what? I mean, Rachel and I don't think that way. So then they came and they interviewed us and they interviewed so many people and they did so much research and they got pictures and films. And I mean, I haven't seen it, obviously. It's going to premiere on March 15th here at the Pilates on Tour in Denver. And then
that's,
it'll go up on Pilates Anytime after that. And I have to say, that's definitely, that's a
you got to
pinnacle.
bring some Kleenex.
Yes. I mean, I was like, you're what? Okay, great, And so I'm figuring out how there's gonna be a Q&A afterwards, how I'm going to take it all in, you
You're
know?
gonna take it in the well-deserved way that it is meant, because you have done so much for this community. You and Rachel have both done so much, and you have been there since day one and have really advocated for the method and
Very much so. I
for
swear
contrology.
we teach it like Romana taught us, but from our unique perspectives.
And that's all we can ask.
Yeah,
It's so important. And we're all just, it really is such an honor to have worked with you and just to be in your space and to share so much of the material with you. Honestly,
yeah.
it's just
Hey,
every time you're at conference, I'm like, yes, I get
yay.
so excited to see you. Yeah. So that is huge. So coming forward, that's what my last question was, is do you have any exciting projects or workshops and or any initiatives coming up for the Pilates Center? More importantly for you.
Yeah. Not so much for me. I'm kind of taking this year off, not from teaching and not from certain workshops, etc., but from like too much traveling because this is the year my niece is getting married and then my daughter. So
Yes, congratulations.
traveling so much. Thank you. I've been traveling so much over the last few years, which has been a truly remarkable thing. I am not really a traveler, and to have gotten to go where I've gone, to Dubai, to India, to Australia, I mean, I can't even believe it really sometimes. It blows my mind.
Yeah.
But that has been a tremendously cool side effect you know, from having started a school so long ago. And it's wonderful, right? We have a couple kind of newish programs we're offering at the studio. So we always have our training program, and we always have our master's program, which is where you can take just continuing education through us. But we recently started our post-grad program, we call
That's
it.
great.
That's like a mentorship program to help you become so clear and so strong and so knowledgeable on a topic of your interest that you could easily write an article on it or easily give a presentation on it. So the postgrad is like an 18-month program where we mentor you through the deep dive into a particular topic of interest to you. It could be anything. And the goal being like, how does classical Pilates already help with that?
Yes.
Right? Like, okay, it doesn't matter if we're talking about eyes or hips or young athletes or brain injury or whatever. How does actually teaching the method already include that part and heal it also, right? And then the other is the archival program, which has been just a blast to dive really deeply into. And that's just 2 weekends in a year, in the spring and in the fall.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and we do like Reformer and Matt one weekend, and then Cadillac and Cher another weekend. And it you know, it's so fun, and it's always enlightening.
Oof,
We
yes.
always learn another thing. We always get deeper, stronger, smarter. And then there's just, you know, so much beautiful community in all of it. So
There really is. There really is. But I can honestly say, I think if Joseph came back and stepped into your studio, he'd be very pleased with what he
I
saw,
like
for
to,
sure.
you know, we had a
100%.
client for a little while who had worked with Joe. And he would come
Wow.
in every now and again, and he said to us, you know, this is the first studio I've been to where I feel like I'm just in Joe's studio.
Oh, wow.
I was
Are
like,
you kidding? You're just like, oh, okay.
I know.
That's beautiful.
Thank you, because you don't know otherwise. How would you know?
No, right. The
Yeah.
people that were actually there telling you, I would say that's confirmation if you needed any whatsoever.
No, that just felt great. I was like, yay, that is part of our mission, not to be retro, but to
It's
continue.
not retro. Yeah, it's not retro. It is. I think there's something to be said about sticking to the original work. It's not, it's original because
He
it's
knew
wonderful.
something
He
that
did.
the rest of us don't know yet. And we're still
Right.
trying to figure it out.
We'll figure it out. We'll
Yeah,
definitely figure it out, Amy.
working our way there. Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, if somebody wants to get a hold of you or work with you, what is the best way for us to promote you?
Okay, great. Well, we have an Instagram, the Pilates Center. I have an Instagram, Amy Alpers. Obviously, we have a Facebook. I have one in the Pilates Center. ThePilatesCenter.com is our website. Certainly, you can even email me directly if you have a question, and it's just Amy, AMY, at ThePilatesCenter.com.
At the Pilates Center, yes.
Yes, if you have questions or more interest in some of our teacher training programs or continuing ed, then you would contact Kelly, Kelli, at thepilatescenter.com. And she can answer those questions better than I, because she's the one who filmed it and put it online and created the online program. And she's an amazing teacher also. So yeah, so I think that's probably the best way.
I love it all. I think it's all great. But thank you so much in closing, Amy.
So welcome. What a pleasure.
Always a pleasure to see you, to learn from you, to hear anything you have to say. So round 2 might be coming. Perfect.
Okay, cool. There's always more, always more.
Awesome. Thank you so much once again.
You're welcome. All right, I'll talk to you soon.
You will. Thanks, Amy. Have a good day. Bye.